The question has been put forth, is radar, Nexrad, Doppler Nexrad radar, and other microwave beam technologies controlling the weather, modifying, manipulating the weather? Well, it's a huge question because there's so many holes in and difficulties in trying to piece it all together. The radar itself between different sites are not coordinated time wise. Uh, it's just a big, huge mess that way. What else? The radars are not, well, they're not synced. They're not synced at all. So it's very difficult to see one signature on one site and be able to find that exact same time frame on another site. It's a bit of an obfuscation of the data, so it's just very hard to stitch it together. So all we can do is really just put it together one stitch at a time. And this is a little anomaly I found that certainly appears to be coordinated efforts between nations to feed and control storms, both through Nexrad and water vapor releases. So let's get into it here. What we're looking at here on the left is the KBYX Key West radar loop for 9318. Now I've trimmed this clip so that it only runs through the period that I found the radar signatures in question coordinated with water vapor releases in Cuba. You can see my cursor there on the right hand side on the GOES image, and that's where we're going with that. So bear with me. I'm just making this up as I go. So here we have a time stamp of 15:06:37. Let's get that up so we can look at it. 15:06:37 Zulu. Here we have a timestamp of 14:27 Zulu. Let's see if I can just get those a little bit closer. Okay, there we go, 15:07. And if you look really close, let's see if I can zoom that. You can see just the beginnings of water vapor release right here in Cuba. Let's zoom back down out of that, and let's zoom out of this and start with our next rad here. So once again, our signature is at, oops, didn't mean to do that. Our signature is at 15:06. So we're just going to advance it one frame at a time, and as you can see, let's go back. Actually, my clip started here, but I queued it up for 15. So moving ahead from there, we're going to find at 17:16:02, we're going to find a beam that comes down here from KBYX in Key West, Florida, parallel and in very close proximity to these water vapor releases. Let's jump back over here, zoom up on that, and if I can get to 17 here, 17 here. Here we start to see those water vapor releases starting to appear here, where the cursor is fixed there. And that coordinates to the water vapor releases being shown on KBYX's radar. This is not Cuban radar down here. All of these radar signatures are from KBYX. That's plain. So we have water vapor in the visible, and we have water vapor in the radar returns. So notice too how dense these water vapor releases are over land in a short period of time. Let's just rock it back. Okay, starting from there, there's no red in those water vapor releases. And that's 1556, so let's say 1600. Oh, and look, within 15 minutes, basically, 1436, you already have red. Within 15 minutes, you have a highly concentrated water vapor. That is, to me, would seem to be an indicator that this is being generated from a single point on the ground. Let's jump back over here. Let's get that timestamp, 1614. And let's get 1614 or close here. 1614, 12, close enough. There. In there, same timestamp. Okay, very little water vapor actually. Well, it's pretty big clouds really if you're on the ground, but that is relates to this. So everything is, lining up there. Water vapor being released in Cuba. And the first of our beams here being directed parallel, or pretty, as close to parallel as you can get in a straight beam to the curved coast of Cuba here. Just going back and forth, seeing what else we can match up here. Okay, so let's just move ahead, and we see that water vapor really beginning to explode, and then we have another beam. Now this searchlight mode is an extremely strong transmission. The reason it's getting returns that far out because of the strength of the transmission, and it is known that if it stays in searchlight mode for over 5 minutes, it can start to affect the atmosphere by heating it. So I'm rocking back. Now the interesting thing about this is these sweeps are 1750.05. The next one is 1754.20. So about 5 minute sweep. What this actually means is that this beam could have actually been on from 1750.06 to 1758.33. It could have been on for that long. I'm not saying it is, but the possibility exists to heat that atmosphere and draw that water vapor up, to have it, to get it to convect. Let's back it up here and stop. Timestamp is 1750. Let's get this timestamp as close as we can. 1750. $52. We can see the water vapor, the visible water vapor from these releases on ground moving towards the feeding end of the storm. This is the portion of the storm that gets fed the strongest. You know, I don't know if that made sense, but just going back and forth. Bear with me here because this takes some time. This is the whole shebang with this, trying to figure out if radar is affecting it. There's just so much data to look at, and we're missing data. What we can get our hands on, the data is not complete. Still, hopefully we can stitch this together. And I think we're on to something here, so let's just continue. Okay. Timestamps are now coordinated. 1752, 1750. See, there's no actual way. That's a 54. Another beam. 57. Of course, we wouldn't have seen it. It's not on there. It goes from 52 to 57. Now moving ahead with the radar first, we can see now all this water vapor that's been generated by industry moving into the feed field of the storm over here. This is what's happening. Oops. Now we're getting, you know, it's like almost the end of the day. That'd be like 10 o'clock, no, 24, that'd be like 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. or so, you know, translated. Don't worry about the converting this into standard time. That doesn't matter as long as they match up Zulu. That's why Zulu is used. Anyway, I'm digressing with that. Just don't want anyone to be getting confused and left behind, because it is very confusing. Okay, we're moving ahead to our next beam. Now we notice that the water vapor releases have basically they're no longer coming up off the ground like they were. And this is at 2227. Let's get to 2227 over here. Actually, don't know if I can, because this loop was already. Let's go all the way through, because 2227. I'm not going to be able to get there with that. Once again, this is what makes this so hard. Let's see if we can just find a 2227. See how it shifts back around. The data is just not complete. It didn't, you know, it's at any rate, this part of the geo-orbital environmental surveillance satellite, the GOES, is been overlaid with radar. Don't know where this radar is coming from since it's not from an individual site. Nevertheless, this may be no good to us because we're just not going to have the data available that we need. I was going to point out that we can't see these same signatures. Well, here we go. No, I'm sorry. 1447 with the overlay of the radar. So let's go over here to 1447. Go back over here and move it forward. Let's say 1532 here. Here we'll go 1533. No beam. Let's get to our first beam. 1716. We can get to 1716 over here and have this overlay. 17. Ooh, we're close. Oh, look at that big jump. 1707 to 1757. 50 minutes. We're missing data. So we can't see. There's no beam here because we can't get to that exact same slice of time. Too much time is missing. Missing data makes it really hard to put this together. But we can see here, oops, that these beams are being blasted into this water vapor that has been released from Cuba. Is this some sort of giant international collusion? And does anyone even know about it except for a few people? I don't know. It's just all valid, reasonable questions. But obviously we have ground-based sequential water vapor release, because it wasn't just one power plant or industry or whatever's going on down here. It was a whole line of them to feed the storm. So there you have that. Don't know what else to say except that here's another piece, another stitch in the tapestry. Another stitch in the tapestry. Okay, I will end it there and carry on with the research.